The alarm bells rang through the deep space monitoring station like angry metal birds. Commander Vex of the Galactic Council pressed his six-fingered hand against the control panel and watched the numbers flash red across his screen. Something was coming through the void between stars, and it made no sense at all. "Run the scan again," Vex ordered his team. The crystalline being next to him, an Etherian named Crystal Song of Dawn, hummed in worry. Her transparent body glowed brighter when she was nervous, and right now she looked like a small sun. "The readings are the same, Commander," Crystal Song of Dawn said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Whatever is approaching the neutral zone, it should not exist." Vex stared at the data. He had been watching the stars for 40 years. He knew every type of ship that flew through space. The Vorthak Empire had their massive war vessels that could crack planets. The Nexus Collective built ships that looked like metal spiders and moved faster than light itself. The Thanor created floating fortresses covered in weapons, but this signature on his screen was different from all of them. "Send a message to Admiral Kale of the Vorthak fleet," Vex said. "Tell him we have an unknown contact entering our space." The message traveled through quantum space in seconds. Admiral Kale received it while standing on the bridge of his flagship, the mighty Dominator. Kale was tall even for his species, with silver skin that reflected light like a mirror. His red eyes glowed as he read the report. "Impossible," Kale said to his officers. "Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing can be more powerful than Vorthak engineering." But the numbers did not lie. The unknown ship was using energy sources that broke the known laws of physics. Its engines created ripples in space itself. The metal it was made from seemed to bend light around it. Most strange of all, the ship appeared to be getting more advanced as it flew through space, like it was learning and growing. Far away from the monitoring station, Captain Lee Hyun stood on the bridge of his ship. The Taeguk was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Its hull was smooth and white, with blue lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. The bridge had no hard edges, and everything seemed to flow together like water. "Captain," said Engineer Park Sol, looking up from her station. She was small and quick with smart eyes that missed nothing. "We are being scanned by at least 12 different fleets. They know we are here." Captain Lee Hyun was not a tall man, but he had the kind of presence that made people listen when he spoke. His uniform was simple and clean, with no decorations except for a small patch showing Earth's blue marble floating in space. "Expected," Lee Hyun said calmly. "Dr. Kim Nari, are our systems ready?" Dr. Kim Nari sat at the science station, her fingers dancing over controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts rather than her touch. She was the smartest person Lee Hyun had ever met, and that was saying something on a ship full of geniuses. "All systems are working perfectly, Captain," Dr. Kim Nari said. "The quantum drives are stable. The defense grid is online. The consciousness integration matrix is responding normally." Parksall looked worried. "Captain, they will ask questions we cannot answer easily. How do we explain what we have built?" Lee Hyun walked to the center of the bridge and looked at the stars ahead. Each point of light represented worlds full of alien life. Some of those worlds had been spacefaring for thousands of years. They had built great empires and fought terrible wars. They thought they knew everything about technology and power. "We tell them the truth," Lee Hyun said. "We are humans from Earth. We come in peace. We are not here to conquer or destroy." "And if they do not believe us?" asked Dr. Kim Nari. "Then we show them what human engineering can really do." Back on the monitoring station, more ships were arriving every hour. The Etherian science vessels came first, their crystal hulls singing as they moved. Then came the Nexus Collective fleet, ships that looked like they had been grown rather than built. The Thanor war machines followed, dark and dangerous, bristling with weapons. "This is unprecedented," Crystal Song of Dawn said. 3 major powers responding to a single contact. "They are all afraid," Vex nodded. Fear could make people do stupid things. Fear could start wars that lasted for centuries. He hoped the unknown ship's crew understood what they were flying into. Admiral Kale received reports from his scouts. The unknown vessel was definitely heading for Council space. It was not trying to hide, but it was not announcing itself either. It just flew through the void like it owned the stars. "What do our scientists say about their technology?" Kale asked his science officer. "Admiral, they say it is impossible. The energy reading suggests the ship is powered by controlled black holes. Their shields appear to bend space around the vessel. Their engines do not use any fuel we can detect." Kale felt something he had not experienced in decades. Uncertainty. The Vorthak Empire was built on being the strongest, the smartest, the most advanced. If this unknown ship was more powerful than his fleet, everything would change. Prepare the Dominator for intercept, Kale ordered. We will meet these strangers and learn their secrets. On the Taeguk, Lee Hyun received the first communication attempt. It came from the Galactic Council monitoring station, transmitted in 47 different languages. Unknown vessel, you are entering Council space. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Lee Hyun looked at his crew. Park Sol gave him a thumbs up from her station. Dr. Kim Nari nodded that all systems were ready. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of technology that should not exist for another 50,000 years. Open a channel, Lee Hyun said. The transmission went out across space, reaching every ship and station in the area. It was simple and clear, spoken in perfect galactic standard. This is Captain Lee Hyun of the Earth vessel Taeguk. We are explorers from the third planet of the Sol system. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. However, we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. The words traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching alien ears across a dozen star systems. In that moment, everything changed. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were no longer the primitive species that barely knew how to split atoms. The age of human supremacy was about to begin, and no one was ready for what came next. The transformation began 6 months after the diplomatic meeting. Captain Lee Hyun watched from the bridge of the Taeguk as construction fleets from 50 different species worked together in ways that should have been impossible. Vorthak engineers shared plasma technology with Etherian crystal singers. Nexus collective machine minds collaborated with organic Zephyrian artists. Even the warlike Thanner were teaching peaceful species how to build better defensive systems. The consciousness integration centers are ahead of schedule, Dr. Kim Nari reported. 17 species have volunteered for the first evolution trials. The Etherians are particularly excited about quantum consciousness merging. Park Sol looked up from her engineering station with concern in her eyes. Captain, the temporal readings are becoming unstable. Every time we share future technology, the timeline shifts slightly. We might be changing too much too fast. Lee Hyun nodded. The risk had always been there. Future humans had sent knowledge back through time, but they could not predict every consequence of their interference. Each species that evolved changed the galactic civilization in ways that rippled forward through history. Commander Seo Tai, Lee Hyun said to the ship's artificial intelligence. Analysis of temporal stability. The AI's voice filled the bridge, calm and measured. Current deviation from baseline timeline, 12%. Still within acceptable parameters. The future remains stable, but we are approaching critical thresholds. What the crew did not know was that Commander Seo Tai was more than an artificial intelligence. The consciousness that ran the Taeguk systems was actually Captain Lee Hyun himself, 50,000 years in the future. The temporal loop that created their technology also created a paradox of identity that hurt to think about too deeply. Admiral Jang Minho appeared on the main screen as a hologram transmission from Earth. Behind him, the hidden facilities of humanity's shadow fleet were visible. Dozens of ships like the Taeguk, all built using future knowledge, all preparing for the war that was coming. Captain Lee, Admiral Jang said, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting quantum distortions in the Andromeda approach. The entities are arriving 50 years early. The bridge fell silent. Everyone had known this moment would come eventually. But 50 years early meant their preparations were only half complete. Most alien species were still in the early stages of consciousness evolution. The Galactic Defense Network was far from ready. How many? Lee Hyun asked. 3 scout vessels. Each one is approximately the size of a moon, composed of dark matter and negative consciousness. They are testing our reality's defenses before the main invasion force arrives. Dr. Kim Nari checked her readings frantically. Captain, if they are here early, it means our changes to the timeline have created an acceleration effect. Our interference has made them come faster. Park Sol stood up from her station. The consciousness integration experiments must be working. The entities can sense the evolution of galactic civilization. They are responding to the threat we represent. Lee Hyun felt the weight of impossible decisions settling on his shoulders. Everything humanity had worked for, all the careful preparations, the delicate balance of helping other species evolve without destroying the timeline. It all came down to this moment. Open a channel to all allied fleets, Lee Hyun ordered. Emergency protocols. This is not a drill. Across the galaxy, emergency signals reached every species that had joined the Consciousness Evolution Project. General Thak received the message aboard his upgraded battleship, its hull now flowing with crystalline consciousness interfaces. Professor Crystal Song of Dawn got the alert, while merging her mind with a hybrid organic quantum computer. Unity of all thoughts processed the data across 1,000 connected minds simultaneously. All species, all fleets, converge on the Andromeda approach, Lee Hyun broadcast. The entities have arrived. Operation Final Evolution is now active. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Over 10,000 ships from dozens of civilizations began moving toward the galaxy's edge. These were not the same vessels that had first encountered humanity. Every ship had been upgraded with consciousness integration technology. Every crew member had undergone at least basic quantum awareness training. The Teguk led the combined fleet toward the approaching darkness. As they traveled, Dr. Kim Nari monitored the entity vessels with instruments that could peer into dimensions beyond normal space. "Captain, the entities are unlike anything in our databases," she reported. "They exist partially outside our reality. Their hulls are made of crystallized void. Their weapons use negative energy that deletes matter from existence." "Crew status?" Lee Hyun asked. "All systems operational," Park Sol replied. "The ship has been continuously upgrading itself since we left Earth. We are now operating at approximately 40% of future human capability. Quantum consciousness matrix is stable," Dr. Kim Nari added. "Connection to future timeline holding steady." Navigator Obin spoke up from his station. "Captain, we are approaching the first entity vessel. It is enormous, and it is scanning us with something that makes my mind hurt." On the main screen, the entity scout ship became visible. It was a nightmare of impossible geometry, dark surfaces that seemed to absorb light itself, and energy patterns that caused pain to look at directly. The vessel was the size of a small moon, just as Admiral Jang had said, but seeing it in person was far worse than any report could convey. "It knows we are here," Unity of all thoughts reported across the quantum communication network. "The entity is attempting to probe our consciousness. It seeks to understand what we have become." General Thak's voice came through on the tactical channel. "All ships prepare for combat. We will show these creatures what evolved civilizations can do." "Wait," Lee Hyun said urgently. "Do not attack yet. Dr. Kim Nari, can you establish any kind of communication with the entity?" "I can try, Captain. But contact with a negative consciousness might be dangerous for our evolved minds." "Do it, Dr. Kim." Nari activated the consciousness integration matrix and reached out with her evolved mind toward the dark entity. The contact was like touching ice made of screaming void. Images flooded her awareness. Galaxies consumed by darkness. Civilizations turned into empty shells. Consciousness itself being devoured by hungry emptiness. But then something unexpected happened. The entity recoiled from the contact. Dr. Kim Nari's evolved consciousness, integrated with quantum technology and guided by future knowledge, was something the entity could not understand or consume. "Captain," Dr. Kim Nari gasped, "it is afraid of us. The entity cannot process consciousness that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We are something it has never encountered before." Lee Hyun felt a moment of hope. Future humans had been right. Evolution was the key to survival, but they still had to prove their strength. "All ships," Lee Hyun broadcast, "activate consciousness integration fields. Show these entities what we have become." Across the combined fleet, every vessel activated its consciousness integration systems. 10,000 ships became extensions of evolved minds. The space around the fleet began to ripple as consciousness itself was made visible in the quantum realm. The entity scout ship tried to retreat, but it was too late. The combined will of dozens of evolved species reached out and surrounded the dark vessel. Where entity technology met evolved consciousness, reality itself began to change. "The entity ship is dissolving," Park Sol reported in amazement. "Our consciousness field is converting its negative matter back into normal space." The dark scout ship came apart like smoke and wind. Its crystallized void hull became ordinary matter. Its negative energy weapons turned into harmless light. In minutes, the moon-sized threat had been reduced to cosmic dust. 2 entities remaining, Navigator Obin reported. "They are attempting to flee back to their dimension." "Let them go," Lee Hyun ordered. "Let them report what they found." Let their masters know that this galaxy is defended by consciousness they cannot understand or consume. The remaining entity vessels vanished into dark space, carrying news of their failure back to whatever realm had spawned them. The combined fleet watched them disappear with a mixture of relief and pride. "This is Captain Li Hyun to all ships," he broadcast. "Today we proved that evolution is possible, that consciousness can transcend its limitations, that cooperation between species can create something greater than the sum of its parts." Professor Crystal Song of Dawn's voice came across the network, filled with wonder. "We are no longer the same species that we were 6 months ago. We have become something new. Something the entities cannot defeat." General Thack added his own thoughts. "The war is not over. They will return with greater force, but now we know we can win." Unity of All Thoughts spoke with the combined voice of evolved machine-organic hybrid consciousness. "The future timeline is secure. Paradox resolved. We have become what we needed to become." As the fleet began the journey home, Captain Li Hyun made one final log entry. Personal log. Captain Li Hyun. Today the galaxy learned that consciousness is not just an accident of evolution. It is a force that can reshape reality itself. We came to this region of space as explorers from a primitive world. We leave as guardians of evolved civilization. The meeting took place in the Helios system, far from any inhabited worlds. Captain Li Hyun had agreed to diplomatic talks, but only if all 3 alien factions sent their leaders to a neutral location. The Teguk waited near the system's dying red star, while dozens of alien ships maintained cautious distances. General Thack arrived first in his massive battleship, bristling with weapons but keeping them powered down. Professor Crystal Song of Dawn came in a sleek science vessel, filled with every scanning device known to her people. Unity of All Thoughts brought a ship that seemed to shift and change shape as it moved, like it could not decide what it wanted to be. The 4 leaders met in a specially created space station, hastily built by Etherian engineers. The meeting room was circular, with each representative sitting at equal distances. The air was filled with translation fields that allowed each species to speak in their own language, while being understood by all. "Before we begin," Captain Li Hyun said, "I want to make something clear. My government has authorized me to reveal certain truths about humanity's capabilities. What you learn today will change your understanding of our place in the galaxy." General Thack leaned forward in his massive chair. "Your tricks will not work forever, human. Even the most advanced shields can be overwhelmed. Even the strongest armor can be broken. Our technology is not tricks," Li Hyun replied calmly. "It is the result of something that should not be possible but is." Professor Crystal Song of Dawn's crystalline body pulsed with curious light. "Please explain." "Our scientists have analyzed your ship's energy signatures for weeks. Nothing makes sense according to known physics." Li Hyun touched a control on his chair. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing Earth floating in space. 50 years ago, my people were primitive by your standards. We had barely left our home planet. We knew nothing of advanced physics or interstellar travel. The hologram changed, showing human scientists working in underground laboratories. Then our researchers made a discovery while experimenting with quantum consciousness theory. They found a way to connect human minds with quantum fields that exist outside normal time and space. Unity of All Thoughts spoke with multiple voices. "Quantum consciousness is theoretical. Our own experiments have failed to achieve stable connections." "Your experiments failed because you tried to force the connection," Li Hyun said. "Humans succeeded because we did not try to control it. We simply opened our minds and let the quantum field teach us." The hologram showed new images. Scientists staring in wonder at equations that appeared in their minds. Engineers building devices from blueprints they had never seen before. Technicians working with materials that should not exist. "The quantum field connected us with something impossible," Li Hyun continued. "It connected us with ourselves, with human consciousness from 50,000 years in the future." The room fell silent. General Thack's red eyes glowed brighter. Professor Crystal Song of Dawn stopped pulsing entirely. Unity of All Thoughts made sounds like grinding metal. "Future humans?" Professor Crystal Song of Dawn whispered. "You are claiming time travel?" "Not travel," Li Hyun corrected. "Communication. The quantum consciousness field exists outside normal time. Past, present, and future are all connected at the quantum level. Our descendants found a way to send knowledge backward through time to..." prevent their own extinction. Dr. Kim Nari appeared as a hologram next to Captain Lee Hyun. Her image flickered slightly as it was transmitted from the Taeguk. 50,000 years from now, Dr. Kim Nari explained, humanity faced a crisis that threatened all life in the galaxy. An invasion from outside our reality, dark entities that consumed entire civilizations. Future humanity barely survived. But they learned something important. The invasion could only be stopped if all intelligent species in our time period evolved together. General Thak slammed his armored fist on the table. You expect us to believe this fantasy? Time travel, future wars, quantum consciousness? It is impossible. The ship you failed to damage would suggest otherwise, Lee Hyun said quietly. Another hologram appeared, this one showing the internal structure of the Taeguk. The alien representative stared in shock at technology that seemed to flow like living metal. Energy systems that created their own space, and computer cores that looked more like growing crystals than machines. Every system on my ship was designed by human minds 50,000 years in the future, Lee Hyun continued. They knew exactly what we would need to survive the coming crisis. They knew what technologies we would require to help other species evolve. Unity of all thoughts processed this information with the speed of a computer network. If this is true, then your species has access to the accumulated knowledge of 50 millennia. Your technological advancement is not natural evolution. It is artificial acceleration. Correct, Dr. Kim Nari said, but it comes with a terrible cost. Every time we use future knowledge, we risk creating a temporal paradox. If we change too much too quickly, we might prevent our future selves from ever existing. The timeline could collapse. Professor Crystal Song of Dawn leaned forward eagerly. The bootstrap paradox. Future knowledge creates the conditions that make future knowledge possible. But if any link in the chain breaks, everything unravels, Lee Hyun finished. That is why we need your help. The future humans sent us knowledge, but they also sent us a warning. The dark entities that will invade our galaxy are already sending scouts. They arrive in exactly 100 years. The room erupted in chaos. General Thak stood up so quickly his chair fell over. Unity of all thoughts began speaking in dozens of voices at once. Professor Crystal Song of Dawn's body flashed like a strobe light. 100 years. General Thak shouted. You claim we have 100 years to prepare for some mythical invasion? Not mythical, said a new voice. Agent Lim Sua materialized in the room as another hologram. She wore a simple black uniform with no decorations, but her presence made everyone uncomfortable. She represented Earth's shadow government, the secret organization that had been preparing for this moment for decades. We have proof of the entity's existence, Agent Lim Sua said. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected quantum distortions at the edge of the galaxy. Something large and hostile is testing our reality's defenses. The future timeline is holding true so far. She gestured and new images appeared. Strange dark shapes moving between stars. Entire solar systems going silent. Energy signatures that hurt to look at directly. The entities consume consciousness itself, Agent Lim Sua explained. They turn intelligent beings into empty shells. Every civilization they encounter either evolves rapidly enough to fight back or ceases to exist. General Thak sat down heavily. And you believe your future technology can stop them? Not our technology alone, Lee Hyun said. The future humans were very clear about this. Humanity cannot win this war by ourselves. Every species in the galaxy must reach a certain level of technological and consciousness development, or the entities will overwhelm us all. That is why we revealed ourselves, Dr. Kim Nari added. Not to conquer or dominate, but to accelerate the evolution of all galactic civilizations. We have 100 years to prepare billions of minds for a war that will determine the fate of consciousness itself. Unity of all thoughts spoke with a single unified voice for the first time. This explains much. Your ship does not just use advanced technology. It integrates consciousness directly into its systems. You are not building machines. You are growing hybrid beings. The future of warfare is not about ships and weapons, Lee Hyun confirmed. It is about the unity of mind and matter. Consciousness that can reshape reality at the quantum level. The entities cannot consume what they cannot understand, and they cannot understand a consciousness that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Professor Crystal Song of Dawn pulsed with new understanding. You want to teach us to evolve, to become something more than we are now? Yes, Lee Hyun said simply, But the choice must be yours. We cannot force evolution on unwilling minds. Each species must decide for themselves whether they want to transcend their current limitations. General Thak looked around the room at his former enemies and realized that everything had changed. The war between factions no longer mattered. The competition for resources and territory meant nothing. They were all facing the same impossible choice: evolve together or die alone. "Show us," General Thak said quietly. "Show us how to become more than we are." Captain Lee Hyun smiled. "That is exactly what we hoped you would say." The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted for 3 days without a break. Representatives from every major species sat in the Great Crystal Chamber on Nexus Prime, arguing about what to do with the humans. The debate had quickly turned into shouting, then threats, then the kind of angry silence that comes before wars begin. High Counselor Vex watched the chaos with growing alarm. In his 40 years of diplomatic service, he had never seen the Council so divided. The chamber was split into 3 clear groups, each planning a different response to the human threat. On the left side sat the War faction, led by General Thak of the Thanor Empire. His massive form was covered in black armor that made him look like a walking fortress. Red eyes glowed behind his helmet as he spoke to his allies. "The humans must be destroyed before they become too powerful," General Thak said in his deep, rumbling voice. "Today they moved one ship across space. Tomorrow they might move entire fleets. We cannot allow this technology to exist." Several species nodded in agreement. The Korthex, who had built their empire on military strength, feared being made obsolete. The Zephyrians worried their trade routes would be disrupted. Even some peaceful species supported the War faction out of pure terror. On the right side of the chamber, the Science faction gathered around Professor Crystal Song of Dawn. Her crystalline body pulsed with excited light as she spoke to anyone who would listen. "This is the greatest scientific discovery in galactic history," she said. "The humans have solved problems we thought were impossible. Imagine what we could learn from them. Imagine how their knowledge could benefit every species in the galaxy." The Etherians supported her completely, as did the academic institutions from a dozen worlds. They saw the humans as a source of knowledge rather than a threat, but their numbers were smaller than the War faction, and they had no military power to back up their words. In the center of the chamber sat the strangest group of all. The Nexus Collective had brought their newest creation, a hybrid being that was part machine, part biological matter, and part something else entirely. It called itself Unity of All Thoughts and spoke in multiple voices at once. "We propose absorption," Unity of All Thoughts said. "The humans and their technology should be integrated into the collective. Their consciousness will be preserved. Their knowledge will become part of the greater whole. Everyone benefits. No one dies." High Counselor Vex shuddered at the suggestion. The Nexus Collective's idea of preservation meant turning everyone into half-machine creatures like themselves. It was better than death, but not by much. "The Council will vote in 1 hour," Vex announced. "Each faction may send 1 fleet to locate the human vessel. Whatever happens next will determine the future of our galaxy." Far from the council chambers, the Teguk flew through the Omega sector with 3 massive fleets converging on its position. Captain Lee Hyun stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display with calm interest. "Captain," said Navigator Oh Bin, "the Thanor War fleet is approaching from starboard. 50 heavy battleships and their flagship Worldbreaker. They will be in weapons range in 2 hours." Oh Bin was one of the youngest officers on the ship, but his ability to navigate through folded space was unmatched. His fingers moved over quantum controls that responded to thought as much as touch. "The Etherian science fleet is coming from port," continued Security Chief Yoon Hana. 20 research vessels with scanning equipment we have never seen before. They want to study us, not fight us. Yoon Hana had served in Earth Special Forces before joining the Teguk crew. She understood military tactics better than anyone else on the ship, which made her the perfect person to predict alien behavior. "And the Nexus Collective?" asked Captain Lee Hyun. "Approaching from above," said Dr. Kim Nari. "Their ships are strange, Captain. Part machine, part organic. They are transmitting some kind of neural signal. I think they are trying to connect with our minds." Lee Hyun nodded. Earth's intelligence services had prepared files on all 3 factions. The War faction wanted to destroy humanity. The Science faction wanted to study them. The Nexus Collective wanted to absorb them. None of these options were acceptable. How long before all three fleets reach us? Li Hyun asked. 6 hours if we maintain current speed, Oh Bin replied. We could outrun them easily, but that would only delay the confrontation. Park Sol looked up from her engineering station. Captain, may I suggest something? We could demonstrate our defensive capabilities without harming anyone. Show them that attacking us is pointless. How? The ship's systems have been upgrading themselves since we left Earth. We now have the ability to create temporary pocket dimensions. We could phase shift the entire vessel into quantum space and let them fight each other instead of us. Li Hun considered the suggestion. Earth's shadow government had given him clear orders. Make contact with alien civilizations, establish humanity's position as a major power, but avoid unnecessary violence. The problem was that aliens seemed to understand only strength. No, Li Hyun decided. If we hide, they will think we are weak. If we run, they will think we are afraid. We need to show them that humanity chooses when and where to fight. The hours passed quickly. The three alien fleets reached the convergence point at almost the same time, creating a massive cluster of warships around the small human vessel. Over 8,000 ships from dozens of different species, all focused on one target. General Thak commanded the war fleet from his flagship Worldbreaker, a vessel so large it had its own gravity field. His tactical display showed the human ship as a tiny dot surrounded by overwhelming force. All ships target the human vessel, General Thak ordered. Fire on my command. Leave nothing but atoms. Professor Crystal Song of Dawn tried to interfere from her science ship. General Thak, you cannot destroy them before we learn their secrets. This is madness. Your curiosity is not worth the safety of the galaxy, General Thak replied. All weapons, prepare to fire. Unity of all thoughts spoke with the voice of 1,000 minds. Both factions are incorrect. The humans must be absorbed, not destroyed or studied. We will begin neural integration procedures. The three fleets began moving into attack positions. Warships powered their weapons. Science vessels activated scanning beams strong enough to see through planets. Nexus ships started broadcasting mental frequencies that could overload unprotected minds. On the Taeguk, Captain Li Hyun watched the chaos with growing concern. The alien fleets were so focused on him that they were starting to target each other. Ships that had been allies for centuries were pointing weapons at their former friends. Captain, said Yoon Hana urgently, if this continues, they will start a three-way battle. Thousands of ships will be destroyed. Millions of lives will be lost. Li Hyun made his decision. All stop. Full power to defensive systems. Prepare to demonstrate what human engineering can really do. The Taeguk came to a complete halt in the center of the alien formation. Its hull began to glow with blue energy. The space around the ship started to ripple like water. This is Captain Li Hyun to all vessels, he broadcast on every frequency. You are about to witness the true power of human technology. We do not wish to harm you, but we will not allow you to harm each other in your pursuit of us. Prepare for a demonstration. General Thak laughed. 8,000 ships against one. Even impossible technology has limits. All vessels, open fire now. The combined firepower of 3 galactic fleets struck the Taeguk simultaneously. Energy weapons that could crack moons, projectiles that could punch through asteroid belts, and exotic particles that could dissolve matter at the molecular level, all converged on the human ship. The attack lasted for 30 seconds. When it ended, the Taeguk hung in space completely undamaged. But something impossible had happened during the bombardment. The ship had grown larger. Report, Captain Li Hyun said calmly. All energy from their weapons has been absorbed and converted, Park Sol reported. The ship has used the additional power to upgrade itself. We are now 40% larger and twice as powerful as when the attack began. Dr. Kim Nari smiled at her readings. Captain, the quantum consciousness matrix is learning from every weapon they use against us. We are literally evolving during combat. The alien fleet stopped firing immediately. They had just learned the most terrifying truth possible. Attacking the human ship made it stronger. Every weapon they used gave it more power. Every assault made it more dangerous. In the stunned silence that followed, Captain Li Hyun opened communications one more time. As you can see, violence against us is pointless. We grow stronger with every attack, but we do not wish to be your enemies. We propose a different solution. Send your best diplomats to meet with us. Let us find a peaceful way forward. The 3 fleets began withdrawing to safe distances, but they did not leave the system. The humans had proven they could not be defeated by force, but that only made them more dangerous. If they could not be destroyed, they would have to be contained or controlled. The hunt for the human ship was about to become something much more deadly. Admiral Kale stood on the bridge of the Dominator and felt his pride burn like acid in his chest. For 1,000 years, the Vorthak Empire had been the most powerful force in the galaxy. Their ships could destroy moons. Their weapons could melt through any armor. Their technology was feared and respected across 100 star systems. Now some unknown species from a backwater planet claimed they came in peace but were prepared to fight. The very idea made Kale's silver skin flush darker with anger. "How long until we intercept the human vessel?" Kale asked his navigation officer. 6 hours, Admiral. They are not trying to run or hide. They fly straight toward the Kepler Nebula like they own the space. Kale studied the tactical display. The human ship, this Teguk, was smaller than his flagship, but the energy readings still made no sense. His science team had been analyzing the data for hours and could only shake their heads in confusion. "Admiral," said his science officer, a nervous Vorthak named Zen, "our computers cannot understand their propulsion system. They appear to be folding space around their ship rather than pushing through it." "Impossible," Kyle said. "Space folding technology requires massive installations. It cannot be mounted on a ship that size." "That is what our data says, Admiral, but the readings do not lie." On the Teguk, Lieutenant Commander Choi Woo watched the approaching Vorthak fleet on his tactical screen. 3 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, and the massive flagship that could probably fight a small planet and win. It was an impressive force by any standard except human ones. "Captain," Choi Woo said, "the Vorthak fleet will be in weapons range in 5 hours. They are not responding to our peaceful intentions message." Captain Lee Hyun sat in his command chair looking completely calm. He had trained for this moment for 3 years, ever since Earth's secret government decided to reveal humanity's true capabilities to the galaxy. The plan had always been simple. Make contact, try diplomacy first, then demonstrate superiority if needed. "Specialist Han Jina," Lee Hyun said. "Try to open communications with the Vorthak Admiral. Use their formal protocols." Han Jina was young but brilliant, fluent in over 200 alien languages. Her fingers moved quickly over her console as she composed a message in High Vorthak, the language of their military. "Admiral Kale of the Dominator. This is Captain Lee Hyun of the Teguk. We request a peaceful meeting to discuss our presence in this region of space. We have no hostile intentions toward your people or your empire." The message reached Kale's ship in minutes. He read it with growing irritation. The human captain used perfect High Vorthak, which was supposed to be impossible for aliens to learn. Worse, the captain addressed him as an equal, rather than showing proper respect to Vorthak superiority. "They mock us," Kyle said to his officers. "No inferior species speaks to the Vorthak Empire as equals. We will teach them their place." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare the plasma cannons. We will disable their engines and bring them aboard for questioning." The Vorthak fleet changed course slightly, moving into a battle formation that had crushed rebels and pirates for centuries. The Dominator took point, its massive weapons charging with deadly energy. On the Teguk, Dr. Kim Nari looked up from her science station with concern in her eyes. "Captain, they are powering weapons. Multiple ships all targeting our position." Park Sol checked her engineering displays. "All defensive systems are online and ready. The quantum shields are at full power." Lee Hyun sighed. He had hoped this would go differently, but Earth's planners had prepared for this possibility too. Sometimes you had to show strength before aliens would consider peace. "Open a final channel to Admiral Kale," Lee Hyun ordered. "Admiral Kale, you are preparing to attack a peaceful vessel on a diplomatic mission. This is a violation of Galactic Council law. We strongly advise you to reconsider." Kale laughed when he heard the message. "They advise us to reconsider?" The arrogance of these creatures knows no bounds. "Open fire." The Dominator's main plasma cannons fired first. Beams of superheated energy that could melt through battleship armor lanced through space toward the small human ship. The other Vorthak vessels followed, creating a web of deadly fire that should have vaporized any target. On the Teguk, the crew watched calmly as the alien weapons approached. Park Sol's hands moved over her controls like a pianist playing a gentle song. "Quantum shields holding at 100%, she reported. "No damage to any system." The plasma beam struck the human ship and simply vanished. The energy was absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. To the watching Vorthak, it looked like their most powerful weapons had done absolutely nothing. Impossible, Kale shouted. Nothing can stop our plasma cannons. Nothing. His science officer Zen stared at his readings in shock. Admiral, their shields are not just deflecting our weapons. They are absorbing the energy and converting it to power their own systems. Our attack is making them stronger. Admiral Kale felt something cold settle in his stomach. In 1,000 years of Vorthak expansion, no enemy had ever been completely immune to their weapons. Not the crystal cities of the Etherians, not the metal fortresses of the Nexus Collective, not the war moons of the Thanor. Fire everything, Kale ordered. All ships maximum power. Destroy that vessel. The entire Vorthak fleet opened fire. Plasma cannons, particle beams, fusion torpedoes, and gravity bombs all struck the Teguk at the same time. The space around the human ship lit up like a star as weapons that could destroy cities poured their fury into the small vessel. When the light faded, the Teguk hung in space completely undamaged. Its white hull gleamed. Its blue energy lines pulsed steadily. It looked like nothing had happened at all. On the bridge, Captain Lee Hyun stood up from his command chair. His patience had reached its limit. Lieutenant Commander Choi Woo, he said quietly. Return fire, one shot. Displacement setting. Move their flagship 50 light-years spinward. Do not harm the crew. Yes, Captain. Choi Woo touched a single control on his tactical board. The Teguk's main weapon powered up for exactly 1 second. It was not a plasma cannon or a particle beam. It was something much more elegant and terrifying. A pulse of blue energy emerged from the human ship. It struck the massive Dominator and wrapped around it like gentle hands. There was no explosion, no flash of light, no destruction at all. The Vorthak flagship simply vanished. One moment Admiral Kale was standing on his bridge, screaming orders at his crew. The next moment he was floating in empty space 50 light-years away, completely alone, staring at stars he did not recognize. The rest of the Vorthak fleet stopped firing immediately. Their flagship, the pride of their empire, had been moved across space like a child's toy. The human ship had not destroyed it or damaged it. They had simply put it somewhere else as easily as picking up a book and placing it on a different shelf. This is Captain Lee Hyun to all Vorthak vessels, came the calm voice over their communication systems. Your admiral is unharmed but will need rescue. We have demonstrated that we do not wish to fight, but we are capable of defending ourselves. Any further attacks will result in your entire fleet being relocated to distant star systems. We suggest you inform the Galactic Council that humanity is ready for formal diplomatic contact. The remaining Vorthak ships fled. They had faced an enemy that could move their most powerful warship across the galaxy without effort. Nothing in their military training had prepared them for such impossible power. News of the encounter spread through quantum communication networks faster than light itself. Every major species in the galaxy learned the same shocking truth. A new player had entered the game, and they were playing by rules no one else understood. In council chambers across a dozen worlds, emergency meetings began. The humans were no longer a curiosity or a potential threat. They were a force that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. And they claimed they came in peace,